Premiership. Loads and loads of talking points to get through, which I'm sure will tide us through to Monday morning's briefing. But just a brief summary of the game for those of you who didn't watch it or maybe have forgotten what happened, seeing as just so much occurred in that 90 minutes. Pretty flat opening 20 minutes. The first real thing that happened was Lee Johnson made 2 substitutions on 27 minutes, which is obviously quite unconventional, but he's just been speaking in the press conference, and in his opinion that worked. That helped Hibs to kind of press Rangers higher up the pitch and get some joy that way. But then Willie Collum had a big call before halftime when Antonio Cholak seemed to be pulled down by Rocky Bashiri. I think most would probably be in agreement that is a penalty, because he gives the referee decision to make, doesn't he, by putting his hands there, and there is contact. So I don't think too many too many complaints about that, probably from either side, although Johnson did think it was harsh. Rangers then 1-0 ahead through James Tavernier. Hibs scored a really good goal to make it 1-1, a ball down the side after Rangers. The tempo and I guess intensity of the play after the play was just really poor. And I think that goal was sort of coming. Rangers, when they had 11 men on the park, and they obviously finished the game with 9 men, really I don't think ever controlled large aspects of the game, didn't really assert themselves. The tempo wasn't great for me. And it was 1-1 after that. Then they go up the other end, Rangers, and score what was another really good goal. Barisic overlaps Kent. Kent made a couple of bad decisions in the game for me, particularly in the first half when he gets by 2 players and instead of trying to take a shot, tried to take on another man and lost the ball. But he did well in this instance. Barisic overlapping him. Kent finds him, and Barisic with a superb cross into the head of Tom Lawrence, who found the net. A really good run from him. He again in the first half made a couple of wrong decisions for me in attacking areas. Once when he was 3v3 or 3v2. Should have released playing him once when he was in the penalty box as well. Then it started to get a bit controversial. John Lundstrom sent off for what was a tactical foul, but it was a very, very similar one, if not identical, tackle, I think, on Lundstrom himself from Jake Doyle-Hayes in the first half. I'm guessing that's been given for serious foul play, but I don't think it's high enough for that to really be the case. Everyone in the stadium, I think, expected it to be a yellow card, but it was a red. Rangers down to 10, and it goes down to 9 when Alfredo Morelos came off the bench. And again, just speaking to the Hibs manager Lee Johnson about it there, he seemed to be kind of caught in 2 minds as to whether that was a red card. I think Morelos, by putting his arm there twice, gives the ref a decision to make. It's down to 9. Certainly for me, one of them, definitely not a red card. Referee decision to make, and I don't think you'd have too many complaints about that. But as is the case with all these things, people will have plenty of opinions about that. So quite happy to be disagreed with on that one. And Hibs would get a late goal. I think Rangers defended the box really well, but they conceded from the edge of the box. You're gonna give up shots like that when you've only got 9 men. Josh Campbell with a left-footed shot that went to the top corner. So do let me know what you think in the comments below. As I say at the start, we will have a longer kind of Q&A video. And briefing on Monday's morning briefing, where we'll get stuck into all of this, the decisions. Haven't had the chance to look back on it. If you do want to have a detailed look at the decisions, I believe on the Rangers Review website at the moment, there is plenty of content on there looking at, in particular, the Lundstrom red card. Let's just see. We'll get through some comments here. Mark says that wasn't the impact I was expecting from the buff. Yeah, I think regardless of whether you think that's a red card or not, and as I say, I think it is a red card. It's a stupid decision. It's not what Rangers needed when they went down to 10 men. It was very reminiscent of Ufa when Morelos and I think it was John Flanagan that day got sent off and Rangers went down to 9 men. Very poor, and it just made it so difficult for Rangers. And then they had no out ball, and when you're playing with 9 men, you can maybe leave someone up top, but you kind of got to defend your box. You're so outnumbered anyway. You can't really just defend your box with 7 against 10, can you? So made it really difficult for his team, and not the impact that they needed today whatsoever. I think that it just wasn't what Rangers needed whatsoever after they had went down to 10 men already. The comment here saying, be honest, our performance was poor. We had more than half an eye on Europe. Results, our lack of conviction has cost us defensively, not trophy winning material. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm going to write about for tomorrow morning's colour piece on the website. today, if you're neutral, you have a real, and if you're on either side of Hibs or Rangers today, so many things to talk about: red cards, late goals, early substitutions, refereeing decisions. But aside from all that, Rangers weren't great, and they haven't been great in a couple of domestic games so far. I think the tempo is slightly lacking. If you look at when they create chances in the game, too often they're leaving it too late for me. So I think there is a kind of a deeper discussion to be had, looking at, okay, all these things happened today in the game. It was a game brilliant for the TV, but Rangers should have played better. Rangers should have had more control and probably created more chances. I know they had some poor decision making in the first half. I think they built through pressure really well in periods in the second half. But overall, I think you'd still say there's elements of their performance that leave plenty to be desired. Let's just get through some more of these comments. Pete saying Lundstrom did himself no favours with a late tackle behind. It's a tactical challenge, but how many of these tactical challenges do you see? As I say, I think that's probably a yellow, although I do think Morelos can have no real complaints about seeing a red card. And Lundstrom also has a tackle on him in the first half that's very similar. Whether the referee has deemed it to be too high or of excessive force, I'm not entirely sure, but that would be my guess as to what happened. Alan says at least we came away with a point. It looked like it was going to be 3 until very late in the day, Alan, didn't it? I thought, as I say, Rangers, when they went down to 10 men, did well 9 men did well to defend the box. But overall, refereeing aside, which I thought the referee lost control of the game today, absolutely, but refereeing aside, part in the cold light of day and say, well, how are we going to ensure that we don't drop points, because that is obviously drop points in the fourth game of the season. How are we going to make sure that that is not a more regular occurrence? Because very, very frustrating, I'm sure, for them to come here and not put in a performance, especially a performance that they would have envisioned, especially when, yes, you've got Europe, you've got 3-4 days in between European competition, so plenty of reaction and follow to come on this, and analyse both the performance as well as analysing as well the decisions that did have such a big impact on the game. Angus not happy with the performance, saying forget Tuesday, although it's Wednesday, Angus, but I've been saying Tuesday as well the whole time. Forget Tuesday for playing like this. Not great. Yeah, it was not. I thought when Hibs did start to press Rangers man for man, Rangers played through the lines well, and I actually thought what Rangers lacked a little bit was that physical presence up front of Morelos to play over the pressure and do what he does so often, which is makes those runs quite well. Also don't think that with Matondo and helping out chemistry was brilliant. And on the other side, as I say, for the goal, did brilliant and slipped them in on the overlap at points in the first half. The decision making just wasn't great. And ultimately, I don't think Rangers had enough chances to really complain that 2-2 wasn't a fair result. Jim says, "Hello, Josh. When you sit as deep as we did in the last 15 minutes without an out ball, we invite too much pressure." Yeah, I've seen some discussion on that on social media. Jim, should Rangers have been a little bit more aggressive and had an out ball when they went down to 9? I think the difficult thing is you're already allowing shots, as is the case with the equalizer. You're already allowing shots from such an area. You need to probably just stick everyone behind the ball, I think, when it gets to that stage, especially when you're a man down. For example, if Rangers go and concede a goal like that and they've got a man up the pitch, I think the rhetoric would very much be, well, why don't we just have everyone behind the ball? Especially with who Rangers had on the pitch at that point. They didn't really have anyone to bring on as an out ball. Tillman maybe could have come on, but Matondo was coming off by that point. He was, I think, the final substitution, or one of the final substitutions. Morelos obviously had been sent off. Cholak was already taken off for Morelos earlier in the game. But it's probably something that in hindsight maybe will have been considered. I think when Rangers went down to 10 men, they were in that 4-3-2, which has worked well for them in the past and normally gives a good bit of solidity without the ball, but ultimately a no out ball and conceded from the edge of the box, which will be disappointing. We're going to leave it there because I've got plenty more to get through. You can join us on Monday morning, 9:30 a.m. on the Rangers Review Facebook and YouTube page if you want to get more. Also subscribe to the website, £2 for 2 months at the moment to this game. Until then,